This video was sponsored by CuriosityStream in partnership with my streaming service Nebula. Hey, happy Friday. This week Apple announced a new Apple event and I have some predictions for it. There's also a brand new historic chip industry alliance with some very exciting prospects, and Samsung got caught throttling their phones. I'm afraid we were also doom scrolling on Twitter all day, so there is no quiz this week, but we'll be back with that next week, and welcome to the Friday Checkout. Okay, with MWC just behind us, we had an insanely packed week full of new releases, starting with 3 new flagship phone series, the Honor Magic 4 series, which is really just a Huawei Mate phone in disguise, the Nubia Z40 series, which is currently China exclusive, and the gaming-oriented Lenovo Legion Y90, which I personally find the most interesting as it actually comes with not only standard UFS 3.1 storage, but also an actual SSD in addition in RAID 0 configuration. That is desktop class memory. It is supposedly much faster than UFS, and it is a first in a smartphone. Then we got a boatload of mid-range phones from both Nokia and TCL that are both so overwhelming and underwhelming at the same time that I honestly can't be bothered to even list them out. Oppo announced its first ever tablet, the Oppo Pad, as a China exclusive for now, and this technically happened last week, but I somehow missed it. And we also got some regional launches, with Realme bringing its flagship GT2 Pro to Europe, and Asus finally bringing its Zenfone 8Z to India about, 8 months late. Classic Asus. I see you still don't want to actually sell any of your phones, so well done on that, you cheeky bastards. And I guess my final release will be the Polestar 02, a kind of concept car that has a party trick of launching a built-in drone for filming itself. I love a company that knows how to include a ridiculous feature just to get a publicity stunt. Okay, my first story of the week will be Samsung's brand new throttling mess. So earlier this week, various users found that Samsung's game optimizing service actively throttles about 10,000 different apps on their phones, including not just a bunch of games, but also Instagram, Microsoft Office, Netflix, and a bunch of different first-party apps like Samsung Pay, Samsung Pass, and more. But of course, not performance benchmarks, which were left to run at full power. A massive list of apps has been compiled in a document by users that I have shared below in the description. Funny enough, one Korean YouTuber found that if you just change the name of a benchmark app to that of a throttled app like Genshin Impact, you will get a performance drop of up to 50%. Oof! Now, Max Weinbach from Android Police was digging through the code and claims that the throttling is way more sophisticated than just turning down clock speeds bluntly, and instead it is balancing multiple parameters like temperature, expected battery level at different times, CPU speeds, and predicted FPS benefits when determining what sorts of resources a given game gets. This tuning likely varies from app to app and game to game, so benchmark numbers you see reported here and elsewhere may not be accurate to all circumstances. Of course, Samsung does this to improve battery life and not to randomly nuke performance on their devices, and given that they also seem to restrict their own apps, it doesn't seem to be malicious. But tell me if you've heard this story before. Just a few months ago, OnePlus got caught doing basically the same thing, and I made a video about that as well, and my take is pretty much the same here. Performance and battery life are always a trade-off, and so I think it is okay for companies to create a sort of default optimization structure, but of course, A, keeping this a secret is a big no-no, and B, users should be given an option to turn the optimizations off if they so desire. Now, to Samsung's credit, they have actually acknowledged the issue pretty much right away, and they have also promised that they will add an option to turn the throttling off in the future, which is the right move, but of course this should have been the default to begin with. Okay, my second story of the week will be a major alliance between chip makers that want to promote new types of chips that companies can kind of combine like Legos. So the alliance announced UCIe, or Universal Chiplet Interconnect Express, which is a brand new open standard for, you've guessed it, connecting chiplets. Hear me out. So you probably know that we have standards like PCIe that help us connect various computer components, like say GPUs and memory, to the rest of the system. But as those discrete components are increasingly miniaturized into so-called chiplets and combined into tiny packages, those then need new connective standards of their own. Think of Intel's recent chip that combines an Intel CPU and an AMD GPU and high bandwidth memory all into one little package, for example, which is a type of design that is gaining popularity in PCs, servers, and more. With the reduced distance, you can implement connections that are much faster and require way less power, with the first generation of new UCIe, for example, promising up to 1.3 terabytes per second of data through a 1mm edge of a chip, and there's talk of 20 times improved performance and similar energy efficiency gains as well. That is huge. In fact, one of the reasons why Apple's M1 series chips is so impressive is that they went even further and included all the key components onto a single chip that allows them to get even more efficient than using chiplets. Anyway, some manufacturers like Intel and AMD have built custom interconnects of their own before, but under the new alliance, many of the largest chip companies in the world, including 3 huge CPU designers, the 3 biggest chip manufacturers, as well as big cloud companies, have now come together and agreed on making an open and interchangeable standard. The first generation tech is mostly donated to the alliance by Intel. It will basically allow anyone to design and manufacture chips that are compatible with the open standard in a way that USB or PCIe would, and the implications could be super interesting. A company could theoretically combine, I don't know, an Intel CPU, an AMD GPU, memory from Samsung, and a Qualcomm modem or something like that into a single package, even though all of those components might be individually made on completely different manufacturing technologies, and you would get lower prices, more compatibility, more choice, and so on. That's pretty exciting. Now, this is likely not going to replace what is in your phone, as like Apple's M1 chips, the mobile SoCs are already fully integrated, but it could be big news for anything from laptops to servers, etc. And the Alliance plans to regularly bring new iterations to market, just like other connectivity standard bodies have done in the past as well. Okay, and my third story of the week will be Apple's upcoming event on the 8th of March that they have already started sending out invites for, and there's lots of speculation of what they could be announcing. My original guess was that this would be an AR and VR focused event because A, the text literally says peek with an E as in to look, and B, because the teaser itself has a .reality file format, which is new for Apple. Apparently I was wrong though, as Bloomberg's very reliable Mark Gurman expects Apple's headset to be pushed back to 2023, so while we might still get a teaser of sorts, he instead expects to see updates to the most mundane products in Apple's lineup. The big focus will be on the iPhone SE, which will continue with the same design, which is kind of outdated by now, but it will have a new A15 chip and 5G connectivity, as well as new cameras. Then there is an expected update to the iPad Air, once again mostly a spec bump, including 5G for cellular modems, and we will probably also get a new Mac Mini with more powerful M1 Max and M1 Pro chips. Apparently MacBooks with M2 chips will come a bit later and might not be mentioned at the event at all. In terms of software, iOS 15.4 is expected to roll out with support for face unlocking with masks and universal control that allows people to wirelessly share keyboards and mice between Macs and iPads. Without any updates on the M2 chips or maybe Apple glasses or something like that, I feel like the event would be kind of boring. I mean, there'd just be spec bumps to already existing non-flagship devices, which is kind of little for a full Apple event. So I would actually expect that something else would come that we haven't heard of yet. Okay, that's it for tech, and if you are like me, kind of doom scrolling all day about the current crisis, then I would like to recommend 2 videos to you. Both are coming from real life lore, and I think they're the best explainers of the current crisis. One of the 2 is a full-length Nebula original, and if you are done with those, Real Engineering has also just uploaded his first episode of a brand new series called The Battle of Britain. This one in particular proves to me that by now Nebula originals are genuinely higher quality than basically anything you'll find on TV or on the internet. It is just stunning. Wendover has also just released their hilarious new show called Crime Spree on Nebula, and I'm happy to announce that we have just started production on season 2 of my Nebula original, Technorama, as well, which should come to the platform soon. Nebula is a video streaming platform built and owned by us, the creators. It provides the space and the financial resources that lets us tackle topics that are either too expensive or too niche or too sensitive to talk about here on YouTube. YouTube, and it also hosts our regular YouTube videos ad-free without any nasty tracking. You can get access to Nebula in our bundle with CuriosityStream for just $15 for an entire year. That is not a month, but an entire year. And CuriosityStream is, of course, the home for professional documentaries online. I recently finished watching this one, which was a fascinating look at how the world's first published computer program and a plan for a computer made of cogs and wheels was born in 1843 by Countess Ada Lovelace. I think my audience would enjoy watching this quite a bit, and CuriosityStream is full of other great documentaries spanning history, nature, science, and more. Get access to both services with the link in the description, and I'll see you in the next one.